Here is the miscellaneous chaotic lab. As the name suggests, I talk about random stuff. This time in the video, two kitchen knives from IKEA. They are under the most premium product line named Brilljera, a Swedish word I certainly pronounced wrong, which translates to English means show off. For the recent 9 months or so, I was a little bit obsessed on knife sharpening. If my memory was right, there was a scene in the movie The Bodyguard where Kevin Costner dropped a steel piece on a katana with its blade facing upward. That silk was cut into 2 separate pieces just on its own weight. I was a kid back then, and there was a lot of mysteries about those Japanese fighting swords. I did believe that was plausible, but I became skeptical when I grew up. I don't have any katana for my possession, and what I can do is to try it with surgical blade, which is the sharpest cutting tool in my arsenal. I simply cannot reproduce the result as on that scene, and I think it was over-exaggerated in the movie. Anyway, since then, I always wonder how sharp a knife can be. I tried to sharpen all the knives in my home with whetstone. There was no internet, no YouTube, no such thing back then for me to tutor, and I don't know any proper skill. I just did it blindly. As you can imagine, the results was not very fruitful. Until the end of last year, I got some videos recommendation from YouTube about knife sharpening techniques. I watched them. I tried, tested, and practiced. I won't say I mastered the skill, but my effort has get paid off. So I think it was the time for me to seek for some other sharpening experience. What I'm looking for is a knife that was made with harder steel. Probably VG10 will be my option. So I looked through the kitchenware shop, and what I found was those VG10 steel knives are costing more than I would like to pay. One day I go to IKEA store to look for something else. I wasn't particularly expecting they would have any kitchen knife appeals to me, but as I was there, why not bother to take a look? And surprisingly, I find these nicely packed knives are made out of VG10s and Damascus Steels. The price is also very affordable to me. I didn't buy any of these at the moment because I thought it was too good to be true. I decided to go back home and do some research first. For those of you who know what VG10 and Damascus Steel are, you may fast forward right here. Suppose if you don't understand these terms, let me explain here. Now, there are tons of different kind of steels with different properties for different purposes, but we now mainly focused on hardness. There is an industrial numerical standard called Rockwell scale to describe the hardness of steel. The greater the number, the harder the steel. For kitchen knives, it usually ranges between 52 to 67. Many people have a misconception that kitchen knife made out of harder steel is always better. That is not true. It mostly depends on what kind of cutting jobs you intend to do with the knife. It is also very often depends on your personal preference. Knives of harder steel maintain the sharpness longer. That means you don't need to resharpen it so often. They can also make the blade thinner, which gives you less resistance during cutting. But at the same time, when it gets dull, in which all knives eventually will, you need more effort at the sharpening session. To some extent, hard steel knife is also more easily to get an ultra-sharp edge, which is particularly favorable to Japanese sushi chefs as they cause less tissue damage during the slicing action and preserve the integrity of pieces better. Hard steel knife also means they are more brittle and less flexible. They are more prone to get chipped or even break apart under excessive force, which make them dangerous when chopping hard bone or some heavy-duty work. On the other hand, soft steel knife needs to be resharpened more frequently, but it is also easier to regain the sharpness. Sometimes it is just as simple as using a homing rod is good enough already. Soft steel knife is also more flexible. Under excessive force, they bend or curved, but are less likely to break apart. So you may say a soft steel knife is more forgiving to abusive use. Of course, you shouldn't abuse any tools anyway. Now, if you're gonna to chop off some hard materials like kitchen bone or fish bone, for instance, you must use knife made of softer steel with thicker blade. Now, interesting though, soft steel knife can do more varieties of tasks you will encounter in ordinary kitchen work than hard steel knives, given that you're willing to sharpen the knife more frequently. Of course, some tasks may not as good as hard steel knife. So it comes back to what kind of cutting jobs you're gonna encounter and your personal preference. A serious cook always have a bunch of knives at their disposal. However, if you want to keep simple, you should still have at least 3 knives: a bone chopper or a cleaver, a general purpose chef knife like this one, a small utility knife such as this one, with a pair of kitchen scissors. Altogether, you can deal with most cutting jobs that were encountered in home cooking scenario. Now, the IKEA Brillera is a series line of kitchen knives. They have a 16 centimeters or 6 inches Western style chef's knife, a 20 centimeters or a 8-inch Western style chef's knife, a 16 centimeters or 6 inches Japanese style santoku cooking knife, a small 9 centimeters or 4 inches paring or utility knife, a 20 centimeters or 9 inches bread knife, and a homing rod. A side note here, I think IKEA put a homing rod under this product line is pretty inappropriate because the knife under the same line are made of VG10 steel, and a homing rod is, from what I know, incapable to deal with such material, but we just leave that alone. Now, in the video, you heard me talk about VG10 a couple of times. So, what is VG10? Now, VG10 is a stainless steel with relatively high carbon contents developed in Japan. So, the major ingredients include iron. Being a stainless steel, of course, we have chromium and carbon. Other than that, there are a trace amount of some other elements to improve the overall properties of the steel. You can find the detailed composition online. How they managed to manufacture this steel, however, is a commercial secret. Now, with proper heat treatment, the hardness can reach up to 61 in Rockwell scale. Now, in terms of kitchen knife, it is somewhat in the medium to hard side of the spectrum. It is a good balance between hardness and ductility. It is considered to be hard enough to maintain the edge sharpness for reasonable period of time. At the same time, it is not too brittle that it can tolerate some minor degree of mishandling. It is well accepted by many experienced and serious cooks. VG10 overall is not a precious metal. However, when compared with ordinary stainless steel, it is quite costly, which hindered its popularity. So some people in the industry came up with a solution. Well, we don't need the entire blade to be made of such good steel. What we need to be essentially is at the cutting edge and the core, and we can sandwich it both sides with some other softer, less expensive steel to protect the core and maintain the overall structural strength. It is a very common practice on many medium-priced cooking knives. Some people subdivide the market segment further and came up with even more fancier idea. Let's make the sandwich skin with Damascus Steel to make them look more appealing and add more value. Well, it at a cost, and to some point even out the selling price that initially reduced. But it successfully created a new selling point eventually. It is marketing, it is business, right? Well, that leads us to another topic, Damascus Steel. Now, some folks here may jump out and yelling, "No, that is not true Damascus Steel. Real Damascus Steel is no longer exist anymore. True Damascus Steel should be layered forged welding steel made in Damascus City, Syria with wool steel or from India and Sri Lanka, blah blah blah." Okay. There are a bunch of videos explaining what is Damascus Steel. I'm sorry, I simply suddenly cannot pronounce it. Okay, there's a bunch of videos explaining what is Damascus Steel, and I'm not going to argue here. Anyway, two things should be pointed out here. One, the terminology of Damascus Steel was actually another marketing gimmick created by the European cold weapon merchandiser back to the 17th century. And two, nowadays, it is accepted that it is to be a correct use of such terminology to describe steel of, well, at least two different kinds welded together but not mixing with multiple layers by forging with chemical etching to show up its unique pattern. So here I got two knives. The 20 centimeters one, this one, and a 9 centimeters one. So here is the packaging. I'd opened the long one already, so let's open the small one right now. I got a sticker here. This packaging is so highly secured. You see, in IKEA store, you can almost touch anything, but not the sharpness, the sharps. Obviously, no one wants to get injured, right? So here, this layer is completely sealed. You have to open it up in a destructive way. Wow. Now it also comes with this protective insert. Perhaps this is due to its premium price, I guess. It is somehow violates the IKEA principle of simple packaging. As far as I know, it is actually IKEA reintroduced this knife since September of year 2018. Previously, they also have similar product several years ago, but they ceased selling them very soon. I'm not sure why, but it is rumored that there is some quality issues. Now, at the meanwhile, as of November of 2019, the 20 centimeters one costs $55, and this smallest one costs at $25 in Canada. In terms of material, you can't beat this price, I tell you. So here we are. Now, look at this. they look quite appealing in my opinion. In fact, as they are made with Damascus steel, this 3-ear-like ring, 3-ear-ring-like patterns are unique to each one. So you can choose and pick up one with patterns that you like most. Right, I almost forgot to mention, the handle is made of one piece maple wood fixed to the tank with 2 pins. I'm entirely unfamiliar with this material. I'm not sure how it soaks up with water, oil, grease, stain, etc. Should I apply some protective coating on top of it? I don't know. I don't see any related details on the instruction manual. I wish IKEA somehow has some suggestion on this regard. The fit and finish is nice, although if you take a closer look, you can see there are some machining marks. Now, look at this angle. You see, the handle is asymmetrical. Okay, that means the handle is being hand polished individually. Given to this price, is perfectly fine. Now, one thing I could point out, I could come out to complain about is this full depth finger guard or bolster. Now, it is a common feature on many Western cooking knives, especially the German knives. Now, it was believed to provide some form of safety, but the Japanese counterpart had proved that it wasn't quite useful. Now, on the other hand, it offers a smooth transition between the blade and the handle, making the handling of the knife more comfortable. Now, in terms of sharpening, this full depth bolster is a nightmare. It always prevents the rear portion of the edge from touching the whetstone. Now, as the time goes by and more sharpening session involved, the rest of the edge gradually grind off, but not the bolster. As a result, the bolster will become a barrier like this, prevents the rear portion from touching the cutting board, rendered this portion of the edge no longer be able to cut your food materials. Now, there are some other kitchen knives utilize half depth or semi-broaster design like this, as I illustrate here. That way you can have the benefit of both worlds. I hope in the future all other manufacturers could also adopt such design if they insist to have the broaster. Now, when talk about comfort, there was some polished work done at the spine. The edge of the spine has been rounded off slightly, so it didn't hurt your finger. So, what about the sharpness? Let's find out. Okay, you see, I would say it's adequate. Okay, let's check out this paring knife. Compared to the chef knife, is slightly dulled, but not too shabby. So, in conclusion, does the IKEA Briljera kitchen knife worth the money? I would say so, because you can't find any other similar product with such low price. The use of material is good, the build, the fit and finish. I won't say it exceptional, but it is pretty nice given to this price tag. At least it gives you some sense of premium grade product. That's the end of the video. See you next time. Have a nice day. Bye.